Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSports. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen. Andy and Matt are probably too hungover from having so much fun at the Bleacher Nation thing last night, so I'm just going to assume that's what it was. I have no idea. So we bring in producer Dan from the other side of the camera. He's rocking his college hockey hat, and we'll definitely get to some of that. But what did you hear about the event last night? I assume it was a good time.
Very cool story that our CEO Reed shared with us about the loyalty of the Bleacher Nation audience. If you're not familiar, Bleacher Nation is one of the properties that we at BetSports Media and Technology Group own, and we bought them last year. And they have a hyper local Chicago fan base, mostly Cubs. Started as a Cubs blog, they've expanded to NFL, NBA, everything else. There was a guy who was actually a White Sox fan who proposed to his girlfriend, a diehard Cubs fan, absolutely loves the Cubs, got engaged outside Wrigley yesterday, and then they came to the Bleacher Nation event. Like, he planned this engagement around the event so that they could come hang out and be part of this event with the Bleacher Nation community. So it's just like a cool thing to kind of let you know how loyal and fanatic this fan base is for Bleacher Nation. So it was a really cool thing. I heard nothing but good things. Thomas Ian Nicholas, the guy from Rookie of the Year, his band performed last night. So it seemed like a good event. And Andy did the NFL draft show yesterday from his hotel, and his Wi-Fi was terrible. So he's like, I didn't even think about doing the show. Can you come out of the bullpen today? I was like, I'm going to be there. So I might as well hop in. I found some things to bet. Not betting on the Masters, which, congratulations to Brooks Koepka. I forgot about this until yesterday, but Andy's conspiracy theory about Brooks Koepka as the Kaiser Soze of golf looks like it might actually end up being prophetic for once, instead of Andy just doing a bit.
I mean, it definitely helps to have the absolute, the nuts scheduling in terms of his tee times. Generally you want to play early on Thursday, later on Friday, but given the way the weather's going, came out at the perfect time yesterday, ripped through the course. And I mean, of all the leaders, he's going to see the best of the golf course today. I mean, Hovland and Rahm still are not out there. Everybody else is kind of charging up here. But once these thunderstorms get started, it's going to be rough, because you'll have a course that, they're going to try to rush you on. They'll try to take you off. I wonder if tomorrow is just going to be a wash. I wonder if we see any golf tomorrow. It looks really bad weather-wise. So prepare yourselves for a possible Monday finish. But what a fun first round that was. Again, everybody coming out knowing this is the best chance you have. I think people were really firing at stuff. The par fives at the creeks, not a lot of people laying up, even when they probably should have. Everybody just going for their opportunities yesterday. So a fun first round. And, did you have any first round leader bets? I can't believe you had.
I did not bet first round leader. I would not have bet. Who was the third? Oh, Brooks was the third guy who was tied. I probably would not have bet any of them. Hovland is not a guy who has particularly played well here ever.
This is his first round ever in the 60s.
He's never really contended at a major. He finished fourth at the Open last year, but was a million shots back. And this is a really tough course if you miss the greens. And he, now it looks like Brooks might run away with this thing, but who knows? But Hovland hit a really bad second shot over a bunker into a really bad spot where it was going to be a really, really tricky chip over a bunker, short side to the green, and he stuck it to within a couple of feet, and it was like, this might be a different Victor Hovland. John Rahm's never really been in contention here. He's had some good finishes, but never been in contention. And I mean, to go double bogey, 4-putt the first hole and finish 7 under is absolutely insane. Scotty Scheffler was, I think, 81st out of 87th in strokes gained putting yesterday. So he had a really miserable round with the putter and did everything else well. So you wonder if he can get going. And this is what you want, right? With all due respect to the Minwoo Lees and the Gary Woodlands, even, who's won a major, we want to see Rahm and Hovland and the young guns, and we want to see Scheffler. And so you couldn't have a better leaderboard. And honestly, I am kind of indifferent towards live golf. I think it's lame, but the drama of Brooks Koepka against any of the big guns on Sunday has to be like CBS won't come out and admit it because no one can admit they want anything to do with Liv. But there are CBS executives out there who are just like rubbing their hands together, secretly praying that if like Tiger's not in contention, which he's not going to be, we get Liv versus Rory, Rahm, or Scotty for the Masters green jacket on Sunday. Like, what more could they want? And we might be heading for that.
Yeah, the live stuff has been, I don't really care. And, you heard on the deep dive, Link and those guys talked about it. It's, whatever. I do like, though, I think it is Siwoo Kim is playing with Phil Mickelson. He's got the all PGA Tour shirt on.
Does he?
PGA Tour like 1,000 times. I've enjoyed that. That seems kind of petty, and I'm here for it. We'll see. It's been a great, great tournament so far. But let's get into today's bets.
Yeah.
Where are we starting with? Tennis today?
Yeah, well, let's start with some tennis. What do we got?
Tennis persists. Got our parlay. Did not get the under. Madison Keys kind of screwed around there in the second set. It was still pretty close. We had a shot for it in the third and got in 3 sets. It got pretty close to it. But we'll start again today in Charleston. Just a first set over here. We're down to the Elite Eight, if you will. So just 4 matches. Jabeur, solid favorite over Kalinskaya makes sense. Keys, a medium favorite over Kasatkina makes sense. Maybe a little value on Keys. She generally crushes Kasatkina. And then Pegula Badosa should be a lot of fun. That's a toss-up. But give me the first set over here in Belinda Bencic versus Ekaterina Alexandrova. Saw these two play an incredible match in Miami just about a week ago here, expecting another really great match. And again, fits the profile of kind of these bets. The total is 21.5, probably closes around 22, and still have a chance here to bet first set over 9.5. And starting to get a little worried here. Some books not hanging as many of these. This one was at points bet. You can get -105 at DraftKings. The folks at FanDuel, no first set totals today. So I'm sure we'll see those back for some of the bigger events, but keep your eye out. And then in Bogota, apologies to Ms. Zidancic. I spelled her name wrong, but let's just do what we did yesterday. Run it back. Sarah Sorb is Tormo, and Tamara Zidancic. Now, Zidancic, you could just play her money line. She's -110 if you just want to play that as a straight up. But again, really like these prices we're getting on Tormo. She's -185 against Camila Rakimova. I'd just closer to 240, 230, honestly. So happy to put her with something. Take Tormo, parlay it with whatever the heck you want. Again, I chose Zidancic here. It gets us to 2-1. But again, really like Tormo in that matchup. I think she should be a much bigger favorite. And Zidancic goes against Peyton Stearns, a very competitive young American. Maybe a little bit tougher for me to handicap her, but Zidancic should be much better in these conditions. And given her experience and overall level here, I have her closer to -130 than the -110 you're seeing here. So put the two together, you get 2-1. Again, play Zidancic straight up if you want. Put Tormo with something else. Maybe do like a Tormo Scheffler to win the Masters parlay, something like that. Because I think you need a little Scotty Scheffler. I don't. We'll see how he handles it. I did not like how petty he was in his press conference when they were asking about stuff. He's like, "Well, you were on TV. You tell me what you saw." Like. This is your job. You knew you were going to have to talk to this guy. You knew he was going to ask you asinine questions. Like, chill out, bro.
He's even through 6 right now, Scotty Scheffler.
He just got it back. He was 1 over to start.
Oh, no, he wasn't, unless the leaderboard is wrong. It looks like it's 6 pars. Looks like it's 6 pars for me on his scorecard today, unless he was 4, or was he 4 under?
He was 4 under yesterday.
Yeah, he bogeyed. Sorry. He's 1 over.
He bogeyed 1, yeah.
He bogeyed 1. He's 1 over on his round today. I wonder about that. We'll just talk about the Masters. Forget everything else. The pressure coming back after winning the Masters for the first time, like how much pressure there has to be on you to feel like you have to perform, maybe more so than any other major, because obviously it's the only one that's the same course every year. I wonder if he's feeling a little bit of pressure. Now, I wouldn't mind having any piece of Scotty, but like I just kind of wonder about that. So, we'll see. Who knows?
Everybody assumes it's much easier, right? So, you've won the Masters before. This is the ultimate course history course, and you should just be out there. You should know how all these greens break and stuff, and it's just tough for him. And then maybe when everybody was pissed, he just ran the Applebee's menu for the Champions Dinner.
There you go. I mean, hey.
Could be it.
Firecracker shrimp or whatever it was. We'll come back to that at the end of the show.
I'll ask you. Making mean remarks.
Oh man. So there was a baseball game yesterday in Atlanta between the Braves and Padres, and I only caught bits and pieces of it because we were watching the hockey game, but like everyone who was there, Braves home opener, taking on the Padres, a team who a lot of people think could win the West, and everyone who was there said it felt like a playoff environment in April, which is pretty cool. Braves won on a walk-off single. So I've got a couple of baseball bets, and I really only care about the Braves. So I just threw together a couple of bets for tonight. And because Matt isn't here, I had to do a bet in honor of Matt, and that's the bottom one. I had to go with the total bases prop for Matt, but we'll start at the top. This isn't necessarily like Atlanta sports fatalism necessarily. This first one, Padres first 5 over 2.5 at -105. The Braves are throwing Jared Schuster on
the Padres team total.
Yes, their team total over 2.5 in the first 5 innings. At -105, I believe I got that at FanDuel or DraftKings. Just double check. Jared Schuster making his second major league start for the Braves. He started in the first series against Washington, gave up 4 earned runs and walked 5 batters in 4 2/3 innings. Now, most of that was in the first inning. He gave up 4 runs in the first inning, and then was fine the rest of the game. But the Washington lineup is pretty dog crap. So, like, they're playing a much, much better offense in San Diego, a team who can put runs up on the board, and maybe Schuster will have settled down. He's very highly regarded in the Braves organization. But second major league start, even at home against a lineup like the Padres, seems like the Braves might have to lean on their offense tonight to win that game. So I'm going to go with the Padres first 5 over 2.5 at -105. And then for Matt, I've got a Matt Olson, total bases over 1.5 at +115. Nick Martinez starting for the Padres tonight. Matt Olson, 4 for 9 with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs in his career against Nick Martinez. So far this season, Olson hitting .333 with a 1.161 OPS, 4 doubles, 3 home runs, and that builds on a spring. And I know spring training is spring training, but he hit 8 home runs in spring training, which was a Braves spring training franchise record, and had 3 doubles. So he came into the spring seeing the ball extremely well, and it has carried over to the regular season. So far, he's an extra base hit machine facing a pitcher that he is very familiar with. So give me Matt Olson total bases over 1.5 at +115, because I can't just resist a good plus money bet, Noops. It's just how I operate.
I like it. That all really appeals to me. I like that you found a guy named Matt to bet on. It just works. And
it does.
We need stuff to bet on because it is another bleak night of NBA basketball. As I take a look here, there are 10 games. Not one of them involves 2 teams that actually have something to play for. The Detroit Pistons, we'll talk about that game in just a second. I did actually find a wager there. The Rockets, 4.5-point favorites on the road in Charlotte, which is one of the stupidest things I've ever said out loud. Just going to leave that one go. The Hornets, again, benched everybody in that game. Houston's still playing their kids. Both teams locked into their draft position. Literally no reason to win or lose either one of those games. The Miami Heat, like 6.5 points in Washington. The Heat coming off a back-to-back last night. Were able to beat my Philadelphia 76ers. Still have an outside chance of getting the 6th seed, so should push tonight to play. Curious to see how that game goes. Again, I think happy to leave that alone because the Heat might just bail on this game. Who knows? It's just absolutely a mess. What happened? They did pull the Orlando game off. That game disappeared because part of the reason the Heat might not care tonight, the Orlando Magic, I assume in a spiteful move to try to get the Heat to lock in the 7th seed, play the Brooklyn Nets tonight and are benching everyone. The top 8 players on the Orlando Magic will not be playing tonight. That game looks like it's been pulled off the board for probably good reason. My Sixers are 11-point underdogs to your Atlanta Hawks. The Sixers have nothing to play for. The Hawks still trying to keep themselves in the 8th seed there. So we'll see how that goes. Again, 11 feels like too much, but I have no clue. The Raptors, 1-point underdogs in Boston. Boston has nothing to play for. The Raptors trying to hold on to good play-in position, maybe sneak into 8. The Grizzlies are 8-point favorites in Milwaukee. The Bucks resting everybody tonight. So be careful there. Not even sure the Grizzlies have anything to play for. The Knicks are done. They are locked in. They already know who they're playing. Cavaliers-Knicks is set. We've got playoff price. Series prices up a few places there. Probably we'll talk about that more on Monday, of course. So the Knicks not playing for anything. The Pelicans 8-point favorites. Bulls, Mavericks. The Bulls are locked in. They're going to be the 10th seed in the East in the play-in no matter what happens from here on out. The Mavericks really need to win this game to try to catch up with Oklahoma City to get in the play-in. The Warriors 9.5-point favorites in Sacramento. Sacramento's done. The Lakers 10-point favorites. The Phoenix again locked in there. But the one game I did find a bet here, a team that continues to play with effort when they have their guys, because it doesn't matter. They're going to get one of the top 3 spots in the lottery, which means they have the best odds of any team basically to get Victor Wembanyama. The Detroit Pistons, they're still playing their guys. They're 7-point underdogs here in Indiana. No Tyrese Halliburton. Miles Turner, questionable, still not 100% there. Just start to look at this matchup here, and this game should be much, much closer here, given who's playing. I do have the Pacers short favorites here, maybe 4.5, 5, but nowhere near the 7 that we're getting here. So give me the Pistons +7. I'll hold my nose and take some stinky cheese here, but be careful, folks. Just a few more nights, and then we finally get to the postseason.
You know that the end of the regular season in the NBA sucks so much when they moved Hawks Celtics on Sunday to ESPN at 1:00, despite the fact it does look right now like neither team is going to have anything to play for. So I have an idea. I just brought up the schedule here, Noops. What they should do instead is find the worst possible game and put that game on national television as just tank for, just do it like bring Victor Wembanyama on live during the game to talk to him. Like, hey, do you want to play for one of these two teams? Although I look at it right now and it looks like every game features one playoff team. Nope, never mind. Houston, Washington. Let's put Houston and Washington on ESPN on Sunday and just bring Victor Wembanyama on, bring on whoever the ESPN draft guy is. I can't think of his name right now, to talk about how great Victor Wembanyama is, and just make this a tank-a-thon kind of nationally televised game. Because who cares what happens if the Hawks wrap up whatever seed they're going to be, and the Celtics have already wrapped up whatever seed they're going to be, right? Like, they're locked into the 2, 3, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then
the big games on Sunday will be Oklahoma City probably just to beat Memphis to stay in the play-in. So we'll see how that goes. And again, Dallas will be playing. As I look at the schedule on Sunday, really nothing up in the air there. Maybe Brooklyn flubs the game tonight somehow and still needs to win to get the 6th seed. But I think everyone is going to be well locked in by Sunday. Maybe just call it a tie. Every game on Sunday is a tie.
No, just put Houston on national television. That's what America needs right now.
I'm sure the NBA would love that.
Nobody's going to be watching anyway. They're going to be watching the Masters. And it's also Easter. Like, nobody's going to be watching ABC at 1:00 on Sunday, or ESPN at 1:00 on Sunday.
It is nice. All the games are like early. It's going to be done real quick. Yeah. So again, we'll have plenty to do instead of watching NBA on Sunday. Oh
God, it would have been the best day to work still in highlights at ESPN. Nothing late except maybe one baseball game that would be over in 2.5 hours. You want to talk some college hockey, Noops?
Let's do it. Talk to me. Where are we?
We are down to the national championship. We are down to the final 2 teams left in hashtag college hockey. Shout out to my guy, John Buccigross from ESPN. Minnesota, a 6-2 winner over Boston University last night in the first semifinal. And then Quinnipiac, the Bobcats, Hamden, Connecticut's own, my beloved fiance's only sports team she actually cares about. They defeat the Michigan Wolverines 5-2. They get revenge for the regional semifinal last year. So we get the 2 teams that most people thought were the 2 best teams in the country most of the year. Like, basically everyone kind of thought that Minnesota, Quinnipiac, and Michigan were the 3 best teams in the country this year. And it kind of bared out that way. So we are now down to Quinnipiac seeking their first ever national championship, and Minnesota seeking their first national championship in a long time. This game is tomorrow night, and I'm going to give out the under 6.5 on this game, which might seem crazy, Noops. 3 games. So they start it's a 16-team tournament, Noops. So 16-8-4. They've played 3 games. How many goals do you think Minnesota in 3 games has scored?
11.
Minnesota has scored 19 goals in 3 games. They scored 9 in their first game. So they scored 9, they scored 4, and they scored 6 yesterday. Well, they played Canisius in the first round. Canisius was the 16 seed, so it was like basically they played the worst team in the tournament, and they put a bunch of goals on them. Quinnipiac has scored 14 goals in the NCAA tournament so far. So why would I advocate for the under here? Comes down to special teams. Minnesota scored 4 power play goals against Canisius. They scored 3 power play goals against Boston University yesterday. So 7 of their 19 goals came on power plays in the tournament. Quinnipiac killed 86.5% of penalties this year, which is 4th in the country. They allowed the fewest power play goals in the country this year. They don't commit a lot of mistakes, this Quinnipiac team. They don't have the high-end NHL talent that Minnesota and Michigan have. Michigan has some unbelievable players that almost carried them through yesterday, but Quinnipiac was able to weather the storm, really outplayed a really good Michigan team for most of the game, except for about an 8-minute period in the second period yesterday. They run a 1-3-1. It's not zone defense the way that it is in in basketball, but they run a 1-3-1. And basically what they do is they clog the middle of the ice. So the way that you have to try to attack Quinnipiac is to stretch the puck across the ice. Stretch passes is how you kind of move the puck on them. They're a really hard team to score on. They don't give up a lot of goals. They're very defensive. They're very well organized. And if they're not giving up goals on power plays, they just don't give up power play opportunities. They don't give up goals on power play opportunities. It should be a game where defense is a little bit better than what we've seen so far in this NCAA tournament. Quinnipiac's not an extremely explosive team on offense. It's a very experienced team in Quinnipiac against a Minnesota team with a lot of really young, talented freshman players, but some experienced guys. Matthew Nyes is their best player. He's a Toronto Maple Leafs draft pick. He's a very good player. But another fun fact that I discovered, Ethan DeYoung for Quinnipiac, he is going to set the record tomorrow night for the most college hockey games played with one team. He will play his 183rd game with Quinnipiac because of the COVID season got him an extra year of eligibility. So that's what we're talking about. Zach Metza, their captain, he's I think 7th on the all-time list of consecutive games played with one NHL team or with one NCAA team. So very experienced team. I expect it to be more defensive than what we've seen. And if Quinnipiac can keep Minnesota from capitalizing on power play opportunities, I think we're going to see a dogfight of a game. Should be fun. I would encourage you. I think it's 8:00 tomorrow night. If you're not doing anything else, if you're home, check it out. The Minnesota or the QU Michigan game last night was awesome and a lot of action in that game. So I feel kind of crazy giving out an under between two teams who have scored a combined 33 goals in a combined 6 games played so far in the NCAA tournament. But I think this is going to come down to special teams. And if Quinnipiac can be better than Minnesota, I think we're going to see a lower scoring game.
It's absolutely. It's a little contrarian. I like a contrarian under there. And again, with the rain possible for the Masters, you might have to watch some college hockey. You could have worse things to do.
Oh, and that reminds me on my Braves bet, Atlanta, well, the suburbs of Atlanta and Augusta aren't super far away from each other. So there's a possibility there's going to be some weather affecting the Braves game tonight. So you might get voided on those bets if you play those bets. But, we'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed, people. Try to be optimistic. And speaking of optimistic, you said Andy had trouble with the draft show. I assume you got through it anyway, and You've got a bet for us. Is this something the boys talked about last night, or are you going rogue here?
I'm going rogue here because this market just popped this morning on DraftKings. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I cannot bet this because the state of Connecticut, while we do have legal sports betting, I'm not allowed to legally bet on the draft in Connecticut. So I can't bet this at DraftKings, and I looked and none of the offshores that I use have this. So go to DraftKings if you can and bet this. But I like Devon Witherspoon, his draft position under 8.5 at -150. He's a cornerback out of Illinois. I don't think he gets past the Atlanta Falcons at 8 if he's available. I don't think he gets past. I mean, and honestly, the Detroit Lions at 6, the Las Vegas Raiders at 7, the Falcons at 8, all teams that could end up taking Devon Witherspoon. The Lions did invest a lot in their secondary, but one thing that allows you to invest in your secondary is drafting a young cornerback or drafting a young safety, because then you have a cornerback or a defensive back on a rookie contract and you can pay the guy opposite him a lot of money. Now, the Lions might be going in reverse with this, giving out their free agent money, but still drafting him. The Raiders secondary last year was absolutely horrendous. And the Atlanta Falcons have AJ Terrell, who is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, but he's due for an extension. And again, like I said, you draft Devon Witherspoon, you have him under a cost-controlled contract for 5 years. That allows you to give AJ Terrell the big extension, so you're not over leveraged at the cornerback position. And when it comes to the salary cap, Bijan Robinson's my favorite player in the draft, but that's largely because he's one of my favorite Texas Longhorns ever. Devon Witherspoon might be my second favorite player in this draft. If you haven't watched this guy on film, he's a lunatic. He's a smaller cornerback. I think he's like 5'10", 5'11", like 190, but he hits like a linebacker. This is a dude who will like run up to the line of scrimmage. He is not afraid of contact. He is not afraid to hit. And it seems like over the past few days, he has kind of crept past Christian Gonzalez amongst the top cornerbacks in this draft. And it seems like people are kind of leaning towards him as the number 1 cornerback drafted. So if you have a book where he is a dog to Christian Gonzalez in that market, I don't hate that either, but I just don't think Devon Witherspoon gets past 8. I think 6, 7, or 8 in this draft is where he's going to end up going. If the board shakes out a certain way, maybe that might throw some things, might throw a wrench into it. But at that price, even at -150, the tea leaves right now seem to suggest that he's going to end up being a top 8 pick in the draft. So I don't mind laying the juice at the 150 there. I don't even know if the price is still available. The Deep Dive DJ in Discord, I think all those guys started hitting it this morning. As you can see, Patrick, one of the guys in there, he approved and already bet it this morning. I think he might have been the one who brought it to our attention, or was one of the guys who bet it. So there you go.
Yeah, 5'11 and a half. I like the half there. 181 pounds. It might. Well, you round up to 6 basically, which is I like. Imagine they didn't bet it with sneakers too. You get those shoes on. You get that.
Also true. Okay, so I want to go back to the Masters real quick. The last thing I want to bring up, because I didn't want to derail with more Masters talk, because this isn't really a sports talk, but this came up in one of my group chats last night. Noops, I'm going to assume that someday you're going to win the Masters. I'm just going to throw it out there that you're going to win the Masters. What would your Masters champions dinner be?
I mean, you're in Atlanta, Georgia.
Augusta.
So I would try to take advantage of the local cuisine. There would be some, I mean, dessert would be something peach, a peach cobbler, peach ice cream, something like that. I think I would just go barbecue, like just bring in all the ribs, every single rib. And then the rest of it, I don't really care about. I assume I have to pick a vegetable. I don't know. Do they have good vegetables in Atlanta? Is there a special Atlanta vegetable?
I mean, okra is a southern thing. Like you can get any kind of vegetable. Like we have barbecue, all kinds of barbecue down there.
Maybe
so
do that, like a jambalaya kind of thing, and like jambalaya, and then all the ribs.
Yeah, I love
or maybe lemon pepper wings.
It's a good point. Yeah, that came up. My buddy asked me if I would choose something Texas, Georgia, or Connecticut related, and I was like, well, not Connecticut. And then I kind of started thinking of a Connecticut menu, which would be extremely weird, but still delicious. But I think I'd probably, barbecue is just like fail safe. And that's what Spieth did when he won. He just did like brisket and grill and pulled chicken and all that kind of stuff and a bunch of veggie choices. Although he went warm chocolate chip cookie. He went, pimento cheese is going. He went warm chocolate chip cookie for dessert, which seems kind of boring choice for me there.
Go bigger.
Yeah. And then the idea of like doing something crazy and making like these really, really like successful golfers eat weird things came up, because it wasn't very weird. But Tiger, when he won the last time, he said he contemplated doing milkshakes again. Because if you remember, when Tiger won the Masters the first time, of course, there was the Fuzzy Zeller controversy over what Fuzzy Zeller thought Tiger's menu was going to be. But he chose like cheeseburgers and grilled chicken sandwiches and French fries. But he had strawberry milkshakes
like
for dessert. Yeah, basically. It's
strawberry celebration dinner.
It's like what Trump gave to Clemson when they visited the White House is Tiger Woods' Masters menu. And he did say that one of his favorite memories was watching Sam Snead and Gene Sarazen drink strawberry milkshakes at the Masters Champions dinner in '98. So he thought like maybe he would bring it back when he won last time, but I don't think he did. So it was just a conversation that came up, and I wanted to get your take on it as a man of the world. And I like that you went local. I'd imagine they could probably bring in good food from just about anywhere.
I mean, like, if it's going to be the best meal ever, so like if this is your last meal question, like we're doing lobster roll and none of that cold bullshit with mayonnaise. Hot lobster, all the butter in a lobster roll. I still think ribs makes the cut, but maybe like some sort of absurd steak. I mean, but I think it matters. I think people were a little annoyed at whatever Scotty picked. There was some complaints about it, and you're right. Like there's some old ass dudes that are at this dinner, like all those guys that do the first, the ceremonial tee off, if you will, and barely make it down the first hole. You gotta be nice.
Yeah, well, Scotty's menu was fine. It was like very Applebee's plus was his menu. Like it was like firecracker shrimp and tortilla soup, and then like steak and fish. Like it was fine. It wasn't there was nothing offensive about it. You could go the Hideki Matsuyama route and just make it as expensive as hell, because he had A5 Wagyu for the entree. Which, like, that's a baller move to be like, I mean, technically A5 Japanese Wagyu, like, delicacy, I get it. But, like, that's a kind of a baller move to be like, I won the Masters. I want this to be the most expensive meal ever. I like that.
That's a good way to go. You're right. There'd be a lot of angles, but I'll try to do local food. What's good that's around. But you're right. Going big like that, just like, no, I want everyone to have a $5,000 steak for themselves.
That's perfect. Like, what more could you want?
Who knows? But that's all we got today. Covered a whole bunch of sports again. Really excited for the Masters. Keep your eye on the weather, folks. Tomorrow could really be rough, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff. We'll be back on Monday with more. Have a great weekend, everybody.